The space station was cold and full of noise. Humans, aliens, and machines moved in every direction. But Jack, a human engineer, was focused on fixing a broken service panel near Dock 7. He was used to the mess, the grease, and the silence that came with his work. But that day, something strange happened. Something that would change his life forever, behind a pile of scrap metal and broken wires. Something moved. Jack paused, wiped his hands, and leaned closer. He expected a cleaning droid or a wild rattling. Instead, he saw a pair of glowing violet eyes watching him carefully. It was a girl, young, maybe 12 or 13. Her skin was a soft purple. Her hair white like moonlight, tangled and messy. She was dressed in dirty rags, and her hands shook as she pulled her knees to her chest. Her face had small marks some looked like bruises, others like faint glowing tattoos. She didn't speak. Just stared at Jack, as if deciding whether to trust him or run. Jack stepped back slowly. Raising both hands, "It's okay," he said in a calm voice. "I won't hurt you." She didn't answer, but she didn't run either. He pulled a protein bar from his tool pouch and placed it gently on the ground. Then he stepped away, giving her space, after a long pause. The girl crawled forward and grabbed the food. She ate it quickly, eyes still locked on him. Jack watched her silently, trying to understand what was an alien child doing alone in this part of the station. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. More than that, she looked scared. Really scared. He looked around, but no one was watching. He whispered, "You got a name?" No answer. "Do you speak human?" He tried again, slower this time. Still nothing, but then she whispered one word. "Father." Jack blinked, not sure if he heard right. His heart skipped. Had she called him father? Was it a mistake? A trick? He crouched beside her. "Who told you that word?" he asked, trying to sound gentle, but the girl just hugged herself tighter and didn't speak again. He sighed, looking at the small, shaking figure in front of him. She wasn't just scared, she was running from something. Something big and dangerous. Jack had worked in dozens of stations across the galaxy. He had seen broken things, hurt people, and even war. But this girl felt different, important. Somehow, he couldn't just walk away, but taking her in was risky. Harboring a runaway alien, especially one with unknown origins, could get him fired or worse. Still, he felt something deep in his chest. Something he hadn't felt in years. A pull, a connection. He took off his jacket and offered it to her. "Come with me," he said softly. "I have food, heat, and water. No one will hurt you." She looked at the jacket, then at him. Her small hands reached out slowly. Taking the warm cloth, she pulled it around herself like a shield, then stood up, shaky but willing. Jack didn't touch her, just led the way, walking slowly so she could follow. Back in his workshop, he gave her a blanket and some hot noodles. She sat in the corner, eating in silence. But her eyes followed him. Jack tapped his old med scanner, wanting to check for infections or injuries. The scanner blinked to life and began the scan a few seconds later. The screen beeped and displayed something strange. Jack's eyes widened as he read the DNA markers. It couldn't be 47% human. Matched to donor ID, J. Hartley's ID. Jack sat down, breath caught in his chest. The girl looked up, sensing something had changed. He stared at her, trying to speak, but no words came out. She tilted her head and said again, a little louder. This time, father, and this time, Jack believed her. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat in the corner of his workshop, staring at the scanner's results over and over again. Each time, hoping he had read them wrong, but the numbers didn't change. The match didn't change. The girl was almost half human, and not just any human, she was matched to him. He looked at her as she slept on the floor wrapped in the blanket. Her small form barely moving, her breaths soft and quiet. Even in rest, she looked like she was still afraid, still ready to run. She had curled up like a child hiding from monsters. And maybe she was, he remembered, signing up for the program back when he was young, poor and desperate. The cross species fertility project had seemed like a harmless deal. They took his DNA, promised it would only be used for medical experiments. Said most of the samples wouldn't lead to anything, but they paid well, and he forgot about it soon after. Now here she was. Living proof that they lied. Morning on the station was never truly morning, just the shift change and the dull change. In light panels, Jack made some warm food, and the smell slowly brought the girl awake. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes, still wrapped tight in his jacket. She ate quietly. Watching him again with those big violet eyes, Jack didn't speak until she finished. Then he sat near her, not too close, and turned the scanner so she could. "See it? This is you," he said slowly, pointing to the screen. "And this is me." The girl stared at the lines, the numbers, the tiny human icon blinking next to hers, then looked at him. Her lips parted just slightly. "You know what this means?" Jack asked. She gave a small nod, not sure, but not lost either. She touched the screen and pointed to the word "match father." She whispered again. Jack nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe I am." It didn't make sense, but somehow it did. He looked at her face again. He saw the round shape of her eyes, the soft curve of her chin, the faint scar near her brow that almost matched one he had as a boy. She didn't just look alien. She looked like a piece of him had been shaped into something else. He had to know more, had to know why she was here, where she came from, who had done this to her, and why she was alone. He activated a secure link to the deep net, pulled up old accounts, old messages, and finally accessed the record from the Gentech Alliance. The name made his stomach twist. The project wasn't shut down, like they claimed. It had gone private, sold to a corporate buyer that specialized in medical weapons and genetic manipulation. He found a file: project Lumi X-17, female subject, hybrid prototype, deemed unstable. Sold off to contain potential risk. Jack's hands clenched the edge of the table so hard it creaked. They called her a prototype, a risk, a thing, not even a person. And then they got rid of Hirsch. She saw his face change and crawled closer, reaching out slowly, placing her small hand over his eye. "Don't remember much," she said softly. "Only ... cold ... pain ... running." Then here Jack swallowed hard. "You're safe now. No one will hurt you here." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. The station was full of eyes. And if someone knew what she was, what her blood could be worth, she'd be hunted down in seconds. He checked the scanner again, digging deeper. There it was, buried in her genome, a locked sequence. Encrypted code within her DNA strands. Military grade. That wasn't just random. It was designed, planted, whatever they had done to her. It wasn't just to see if a human and alien could have a child. They had used her as a container for something else, something dangerous or valuable. A knock at the door made Jack jump. He signaled her to stay quiet, grabbed a spanner, "Hey," and walked to the entrance. A tall alien officer stood there, skin pale green, eyes cold. "There was a report," he said, "an unauthorized lifeform detected on this deck. Possibly a fugitive." Jack forced a casual smile. "Only rats and rust here, officer. I've been fixing the coolant line all night." The officer looked past him into the shadows, eyes scanning the room. "We'll be running DNA sweeps within the next cycle," the officer said. "Station safety protocol." Jack nodded slowly. "Of course. I'll keep things clear." As soon as the officer left, Jack closed the door and locked every bolt, his heart pounding. They were coming. They would find her. Unless he found a way out. He turned back to the girl, who was now standing quietly, looking at him. She didn't ask, didn't cry. She only said one word: "Run." Jack nodded. "Yeah, we run." The tunnels under the station smelled like old metal and leaking gas. Every step echoed, and the lights above flickered as if they hadn't been touched in years. Jack held the girl's hand tightly as they moved fast, but quiet, ducking behind crates and slipping past sensor beams. He knew these tunnels. He had worked in them, repaired them, hidden in them before, but never like this. The girl didn't speak much, only short breaths and quick glances behind them. She wasn't just following him. She was learning, watching how he moved, where he paused, when he signaled her to stop, and when it was safe again. For someone so young, she was sharp. Too sharp for a child. Jack wondered how much of her life had been like this, running, hiding, afraid. They stopped under an old control node. Jack placed a small device on the panel and hacked into the back network. It gave him a quick glimpse of the upper deck. Security teams were moving in groups, sweeping rooms, checking heat signatures, and scanning every humanoid they passed. They weren't just searching randomly anymore. They had a lead. He cursed under his breath and backed away from the screen. They didn't have much time. The girl tugged his sleeve and pointed to a small maintenance shaft. Jack blinked. Surprised, she noticed it. It was narrow and dusty and half blocked by wiring. But it led to the lower hangars, the place smugglers and black market pilots used. He nodded. Good eye. He whispered. She gave the faintest smile. Inside the shaft, it was tight and dark, the walls pressed close. And the girl moved ahead of him, like she had done this before. Jack crawled after her, pushing aside cables and broken brackets. When they emerged, they were inside a huge, empty cargo bay. Lights dim, the floor covered in fuel stains and packing foam. No one was there, but that wouldn't last. Jack knew someone who could help. An old pilot named Varn, half cyborg and half drunk, but loyal when paid right. He checked his wristband and sent a silent ping to Varn's. Camp's girl sat beside a crate, catching her breath. Her eyes looked tired but alert. Always alert. Jack sat down beside her, trying to keep his voice calm. You ever been in space before? He asked. She shook her head. He smiled. It's loud, cold, and boring, but better than being hunted. She tilted her head. Why are they after me? She asked quietly. Jack hesitated. They think there's something special inside you, he said. But they don't care about you, only what they can take. She didn't react the way he expected. No tears, no panic, only a slow nod, as if she already knew. Am I a weapon? She asked. That question broke something in him. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. No, he said. You're a child. Not a tool, not a machine. They had no right to make you think otherwise. Footsteps echoed outside the cargo bay. Jack stood quickly and moved her behind a stack of containers. The door creaked open. A large figure stepped in, mechanical limbs humming, one red eye glowing under a patched helmet. Varn. Jack whispered in relief. The pilot grunted. You always call when trouble finds you. Jack stepped forward. I need a ship fast, clean and unregistered. Varn's red eye scanned the girl behind the crate. That hers. He asked Jack. No to Varn. Didn't ask more, didn't judge. Only pulled out a chipped keycard and tossed it to Jack. Doc E17. Old model freighter, fuel's half full. She'll get you out if you move now. Jack grabbed his arm. Thank you, Varn. Shrugged. You owe me twice now. Don't forget it. Jack turned to the girl. Let's go. But before they could leave, the alarm rang, high-pitched and sharp. Unauthorized DNA match detected on deck 12. The speaker screamed. Subject must not escape. Jack's blood turned cold. They had found the old scanner logs, maybe even the blood trace she left behind. Varn growled. They're locking exits. You've got maybe 10 minutes. Jack grabbed the girl's hand again and ran, this time faster, heart pounding. Not looking back, they reached Dock E17 just as the metal gates started to close. Jack slipped under, pulling her through, slamming the release button behind them. Inside, the freighter was dusty and old. Panels flickered. But the engine was real, and ready Jack dropped into the pilot seat and slammed the ignition. The engine coughed, then roared outside. Station guards were already coming inside. The girl sat behind him, holding the edge of the chair. Jack turned, gave her a quick smile, hold tight. He sat, and with one loud scream from the engine, the freighter broke free from the dock and jumped into black space behind them. The station grew small ahead of them. Only questions and danger, but at least they were free. For now, the stars outside the window drifted like slow fireflies, but inside the ship, silence filled every corner. Not peace, not calm, just quiet tension. Jack leaned back in the old pilot chair, staring at the endless dark, hands still gripping the controls. Even though the ship was already in jump mode, the girl sat behind him, curled up on the floor near a heating vent, hugging her knees. Her eyes were open but distant, like she wasn't really here. Like part of her was still trapped back in the station, in the lab, or wherever they had kept her. Jack didn't ask questions yet, not until she was ready. But the weight inside his chest grew heavier with every passing hour. She wasn't just part of him, she was part of something terrible, something big. And now they were both in the middle of it. Pulled up the ship's old archive system, wired it to his wrist device, and began digging into the encrypted files he copied from the Gentech network. The deeper he went, the more disturbing it got. There were names, dozens of hybrid test subjects, most labeled terminated, failed, sold, missing. Some had notes like unfit for combat or genetic decay detected, and one had a Namalumi X17 his. Fingers trembled as he opened the file fully. It showed everything: her creation, her birth, her growth in a tank, monitored, studied, trained, but never loved, never held. She had been alone since day one, used like a machine. Her entire existence measured by usefulness. One log stood out. Dated just 2 months ago, subject shows signs of emotional resistance, refuses to obey commands, exhibits human-like protectiveness, proposes shutdown and sail before independence develops further. Jack's jaw tightened. He closed the screen and looked back at the girl Lumia. He said softly, her eyes flicked toward him, "That's your name, isn't it?" She nodded once, then looked away. "I don't like it," she whispered. He understood why. It wasn't a name, was a label, a project code. "Do you want a new one?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "You choose." Jack thought for a moment, then smiled. "Just a little, Mira," he said. "It means hope." She repeated it, slowly, like she was trying the sound for the first time. Mira. Something changed in her face, just slightly. Something softer. They flew for hours before stopping at a hidden repair dock in the outer zone. No questions asked, no IDs needed. The perfect place to rest and prepare. Jack gave Mira warm food, a clean shirt, and a quiet space to sleep while she rested. He snuck away and made another connection, this time to an old contact from his past life, before the mechanic work. Back when he did things he wasn't proud of, but things that taught him how to survive. Her name was Kira, an ex-hacker, turned information broker, dangerous, smart, and always 2 steps ahead of the Lotha. Call connected with static and red light. Jack. Kira's voice came through, rough and tired. "Didn't think I'd ever hear from you again. You owe me a ship, remember?" Jack gave a tight smile. "I know, and I'll owe you too if you help me now." "What is it?" she asked, but her tone said she already smelled trouble. "I need every file you can dig up on Gentech's private buyers. Labs, ships, everything," he said, "especially about Project Lumia." The line went quiet. "That's off-grid stuff," Jack. Kira muttered, "and dirty, like buried on purpose dirty." "Please," he said. "This is family." That word changed everything. Kira sighed. "Give me 6 hours." Jack ended the call and walked back into the ship's cabin. Mira was sitting up now, looking at the stars through the side window. "Where are we going?" she asked. Jack sat beside her, someplace quiet. "For now," he said. "But after that, I don't know yet." She was quiet for a while, then said, "You don't have to stay with me." He turned to her sharply. Surprised, she added quickly, "It's okay. I'm used to being alone." Jack shook his head slowly. "No, Mira," he said. "No one should get used to that." Just then, his wristband buzzed. The screen lit up with a message from Kira. "Found something. Meet me on Talus Moon. Come alone. Trust no one." Jack closed the message. His face unreadable. The truth was waiting. And it might not be kind, but he had to know what they did to Myrand, why they wanted her back so badly, and he had to decide. Something even harder: would he protect her from the world or show her how to fight it? Talus Moon wasn't on any traveler's list. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't safe, and it definitely wasn't welcoming. The air was cold, thick with gray fog, and the buildings looked like broken teeth jutting out of black dirt. This was the kind of place where secrets came to hide, and sometimes they never left. Jack guided the freighter down to the edge of a ruined landing pad. Engines hissing in the thick mist. Mira stayed close to him, silent, wrapped in the same jacket he'd given her. Back on the station, her eyes never stopped moving, always watching, always expecting danger around the corner. He knew she wasn't wrong. The message from Kira was short, sharp, and strange. "Come alone. Trust no one." That kind of warning didn't just mean danger. It meant someone had been watching, maybe even listening. Jack handed Mira a small emergency chip. "If anything happens to me," he said, "you take this to Dock 4 on Zura Prime. Find a woman named Laina. Tell her I sent you. She'll protect you." Myra stared at the chip, then back at him. "You think you won't come back?" she said. Jack gave a tight smile. "I think I'll try, but just in case." He left her inside the ship, locked the controls, and stepped out into the thick mist. The meeting point was an old building, half buried, with a blinking light over the door that cast a dull red glow. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. Kira was already waiting, her long coat wrapped tight, face mostly hidden under a hood. But he'd know those sharp eyes anywhere you brought her. She asked without looking up. "No," Jack said. "She's safe, for now." Kira turned a screen toward him. The display filled with names, photos, DNA strands, and sealed reports. "This is what they were hiding," she said, tapping the screen. Lumia wasn't the only one. There were others, dozens. And not just hybrids, they were building something bigger. Something called Project Ascendant. Jack leaned in, reading fast. "What is it?" he asked. Kira hesitated. "They used the hybrid kids to collect rare genetic traits," she said. "They weren't just making children. They were farming power, disease, immunity, regeneration, even neural tech compatibility." Jack felt sick. He clenched his fists. "They were turning kids into blueprints," he whispered. Kira nodded. "But Mira's different," she added, pulling up one last file. "Marked Level 0 classified. This says she's the only one who naturally stabilized." Jack blinked. "Meaning?" "Meaning," Kira said, "she's the only hybrid that didn't need suppressors or reconditioning. Her mind and body adjusted on their own. She's not just part of the project, she's the final piece." Suddenly, something crashed outside Jack's heart jumped. He pulled his weapon and turned toward the door. Kira checked her scanner. Eyes narrowing. "They found you," she hissed. "You led them here." Jack ran out into the fog. His ship was surrounded. Dark shapes moved in the mist. Mercenaries. Armored, armed, and fast. He could hear Mira's voice through his cum, soft but afraid. "Jack, there's people outside. Stay locked in," he shouted. "Don't open that door, no matter what." One merc spotted him and opened fire. Jack dove behind a rusted shuttle frame, returned fire, sparks lighting the fog. Kira joined him, pistol in hand, her eyes blazing. "You're still a magnet for chaos," she muttered, They fought their way toward the ship. Cover to cover, Jack yelling Mira's name through the come inside. The girl was breathing hard, her small fingers hovering over the emergency chip. But she didn't want to run. Not again. She stepped to the door and placed her palm on the lock. Panel, her voice steady. I'm opening it. She said, "You're in danger," Jack screamed. "No, stay inside." But the door hissed open anyway. Myra stepped out, eyes glowing faintly now. Something inside her had awakened. One merc charged her, blade drawn. But before Jack could reach her, something strange happened. Mira raised one hand, and the man dropped to the ground, unconscious. No weapon, no contact. Just a wave of invisible pressure. Jack froze. So did the mercenaries. They stared at her like she was a ghost. Something unexplainable, something not from this world. She stood calmly. Her voice clear. "Leave us alone." She saddened. Something in her tone made them hesitate. Some of them backed away, some dropped their weapons. Jack stepped beside her slowly. "Myra," he said. "What was that?" She looked at her hands, then at him. "I don't know," she whispered. But it didn't feel wrong. Kira approached from behind. "Well," she said with a smirk, "I guess now we know why they want her so badly." But Jack wasn't smiling because he knew something else. Now too, whatever was inside her was just beginning to wake up. The inside of the ship felt too quiet. Like the calm before a massive storm, Mira sat near the wall, hands resting on her knees, eyes staring at nothing, but her fingers kept moving, twitching like they remembered something her mind didn't understand yet. Jack watched her closely, not with fear, but with worry. Deep worry. He had seen powerful things before. Machines, soldiers, alien tech that could break planets. But this was different. Myra wasn't a weapon built in a lab. She was something new, something growing, and she didn't even know what was happening to her. Kira leaned against the console, arms crossed, watching both of them. She didn't activate anything. Jack said. There was no chip, no command. Nothing triggered her. Kira nodded slowly. "That's what's scaring me." Jack glanced back at Mira. It came from inside her, he said quietly, like instinct. The screen behind them blinked, showing a series of fast-changing codes, lines of Mira's DNA unraveling and rebuilding in real time. Kira's hacking software had tapped into a hidden file, something deep within Mira's blood-locked genetic commands, encrypted memories, unreadable sequences. Jack pointed. "What's that part?" he asked. Kira frowned. "I don't know," she muttered. "It's not language, not data. It's like it was written in emotion. The code reacts to stress, fear, panic grows when she's in danger." Mira turned to face them. Voice soft but sharp. "So if I stay afraid, I get stronger?" Jack stood, shaking his head quickly. "No," he said. "That's not the answer." But Myra didn't look convinced. Kira turned the screen off and looked at Jack. "You need to make a choice. She's not safe out here. And the longer you run, the more eyes will chase you." Jack rubbed his face, tension building like a weight on his shoulders. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Kira replied, "if you want to protect her, really protect her, you need to stop hiding." Mira stood slowly. "I don't want to run anymore," she said. "If they come for me, I want to be ready." Jack looked at her and saw it. Something had changed since Talisman. She wasn't just scared anymore. She was beginning to understand who she was, what she could be, but she was still a child, still his child. He sat beside her, spoke gently. "Fighting isn't what makes you strong, Mira, it's choosing what's right. Even when it's hard." She nodded, but her jaw was set now. No more fear. Only focus. Kira stepped away and opened a hidden panel on the wall. Inside were old devices, training chips, memory readers, holosim gloves. "I kept these for when I got desperate," she said with a shrug. "Guess today's the day." Jack helped Mira put on the gear. It was too big for her, but it adjusted to her. Frame, the lights blinked to life, and the gloves synced with her biosignal almost instantly. To as silly as the first simulation loaded, Mira flinched. The room around them changed, becoming a dark corridor just like the one she had run through in the lab so long ago. Her eyes widened. "I've been here," she whispered. Kira looked at Jack, then back at Mira. "They didn't just make you," she said. "They trained you, and then made you forget." Mira began to move through the simulation. Not walking, but flowing, graceful. Her body knew every corner, every turn. Her hands moved like a fighter. Fast and sharp. Jack watched in silence, heart pounding with both pride and fear. She wasn't just remembering, she was awakening. The training lasted hours, and when it ended, Mira fell to her knees, breathing hard. Sweat dripping from her brows caught her before she hit the floor. "You okay?" She looked up at him, face pale, but eyes burning with light. "I remember more now," she said. "They hurt others. Not just me, other kids." Jack Frosker's voice dropped low. "She wants to go back." Mira nodded slowly. "I want to stop them," she said. For the others, Jack didn't argue. Didn't say no because, in that moment, he knew what he aimed. Had to do, not just to protect her, but to fight for her hand, maybe, just maybe, help her rewrite the future they forced on her. The sky above Gentech's private moon facility burned red from the sun's dying light. The walls around the building stood tall and silver, smooth like glass, with hidden guns and silent drones floating in the air. It wasn't just a lab, it was a fortress, a place built to keep things in, or keep the truth out. Jack stood behind a rocky hilltop, staring down at the place he once thought was just another name on a contract. Beside him stood Mira, no longer shaking, no longer hiding. Her small body wrapped in a suit lined with stealth gear, gifted by Kira, her hair pulled back. Eyes locked on the facility like she had stared down monsters before Kira checked her handheld scanner. Voice low and sharp. "There's only a 10-minute window. One security shift leaves, the next hasn't arrived yet. You get in, grab the data core, and get out." Jack looked at Mira. "We don't have to do this." She shook her head. "We do. Not just for me, but for them." Jack nodded once, then tapped her shoulder gently. "Stay close, stay low, and if I say, run, you run." They moved through the dark like ghosts, Myra following Jack's every step, sliding under fences, avoiding lights, slipping past cameras, until finally they reached the side access door. Jack hacked it fast, fingers moving like a man who had done this before. The door opened with a quiet hiss inside. It smelled like clean metal and cold chemicals. Myra's hands clenched as memories slammed into her like waves. This was the place where she was made, tested, erased. They passed rooms full of empty tanks, some cracked, some still filled with pale fluid. Shadows floated inside failed experiments, forgotten lives. Jack didn't let her stop. They reached the central chamber where the data core sat, spinning slowly, protected by a single shield field. Voice came through the comm. "I'm in the system." Dropping the shield in 3, 2. The shield blinked out. Jack reached for the core and then everything went wrong. The lights flared red, alarms screamed, and the floor shook. "Security breach," a voice said over the speakers. "Code red, contain all subjects." Mira turned, eyes wide. They knew we'd come. A door behind them slammed open. 6 armed guards stormed in, guns raised, moving fast. Jack stepped in front of Myra, ready to fight, but Mira stepped forward. "Calm, I'll handle it," she whispered. Jack opened his mouth to protest, but the air changed. A pulse moved through the room, soft but strong, as if the space itself bent for a second. Mira raised her hand. Everything stopped. The guards froze, not unconscious, but stuck. Like time around them refused to move. Jack's mouth dropped open. Mira was shaking, blood dripping from her nose. Her body too small to carry so much power, but she stayed standing. Jack grabbed the core and pulled her close. That's enough. Go! They ran through the halls, Mira leaning on him. The world around them flickering like a broken simulation outside. The facility guards were scrambling. Kira had dropped a virus into the mainframe, making every alarm, every drone, every camera go blind for 10 seconds. That was all Jack needed. He fired the ship's auto-docking cables toward the upper wall, grabbed Mira and jumped the ship, pulled them up like a magnet, blasting away from the moon in seconds. Inside the cabin, Mira collapsed, barely breathing. Jack held her close, hands trembling. You did it, he whispered. You saved us. Kira's face blinked onto the screen. And the data core? She asked. Jack showed it. Kira exhaled in relief. We can expose them now. Send this to every council, every media stream. Gentech will burn. Jack looked down at Mira. No, he said. We won't just burn them. We'll make sure no one does this ever again. A week later, across the galaxy, the truth exploded like a sunflare. Files, images, names. Proof of what Gentech did, how they treated children as test subjects, how they built weapons from life, and the face of one hybrid girl standing strong at the center of it all. Myra, her name became a symbol. Her story, a fire that wouldn't die. She never wanted to be famous, never wanted to be powerful. She only wanted to be free, and thanks to one human who didn't walk away, she was